All right, we'll start inside here. Serena?
Coach, as you're watching that Atlanta-Charlotte game last night as a coach, I'm just curious how you watch it. What is going through your mind, knowing that whoever wins is about to be the winner of the home game?
You're studying a lot, a lot of rewinding, trying to pay attention to both sides of the ball, what both teams are doing, what they're trying to accomplish, watching how hard they're competing, watching the tendencies and the things that ended up leading Atlanta to win. So you're keeping an eye on all those things.
So you're actually rewinding as it's live, or do you go back and watch it?
No, I rewind it, as it's live. Yeah.
How is the script embracing that winner of both moments?
The only way you can. Our guys are a bunch of fighters. They've scrapped their way through this whole entire season. They don't want it to end. So collectively, they're doing all the things we need to do to put ourselves in position to be successful tomorrow night.
Did Jared practice today?
He did all that we did today.
What did you do today?
Just walk through some stuff.
Okay. Has he done any 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5 to this point?
He's done some stuff against coaches and things like that, things that have been really, really controlled.
And then looking ahead to Friday's game against Atlanta with their offense, what's the greatest challenge for you guys defensively going up against them?
It starts with Trae Young. What he does impacts everybody else. And, his ability, one, to make all the shots from all over the floor, two, to be able to make all the plays, with the ball in his hand, the passes, and then that pick and roll game that they run, right? Like through the pick and roll, he's not just a threat. Clint Capella is one of the best rolling big guys in our league, knows how to finish, knows how to create that separation. And then their other guys do a tremendous job of being in space where they can make the play and make shots if you have to overhelp.
So Friday could be your last game of the season. How do you balance
Negative
JB?
Nancy?
It could be. How do you balance JB? Nancy is tough. That's cut deep. How do you balance reacting appropriately because of the magnitude and the stakes versus overreacting and trying to change too much of who you guys have been this year?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's we have to just be who we are. We've tried, and I think we've done a pretty good job of holding ourselves to a standard, and we have to go out and compete at that standard. We can't come in here today and try to be somebody different and try to be somebody that we haven't been, for 82 games this year. So our focus is living up to our standard. And that's why it was so important in training camp, to identify that and establish who we were. And, you can't, in all these different moments that we face, continue to try to be somebody else, right? You have to find that consistency and be the best version of yourself. And hopefully that puts you in position again to go out and get a win.
JB, in prep for this game, do you go back and watch the Brooklyn game from Tuesday? Do you go back and watch the Bucks game from the season? A combination of all of this?
Yeah, you obviously watch the Brooklyn game immediately after it happens. You're trying to figure out where the breakdowns were and what caused them. Paying attention to the execution of the game plan. And then being aware and showing that to our guys, where we failed. So that even though the game plans may be different today or for tomorrow, the execution of that game plan is still as important. So we need to make sure that we pay attention to those details. We're held accountable to the mistakes that we made, and then you can move forward.
And how do you balance it, because Trae is such an important piece of their offense, but not allowing guys to forget about everyone else before and sort of balancing how you do that?
They're weapons. There's no doubt about it. Those guys, are all very competent offensive players. So you can't take them for granted. Obviously we know the impact that, Trae Young has, but you got to do the job with those guys. We have a ton of respect for them. And, that's the mindset that we're going into it. This is not by any means, a one-man show. They are a well-coached, really balanced offensive team.
And we've talked all season about you guys wanting to dominate the paint. What is that balance specifically for this game about also defending the perimeter obviously having Evan back in there.
Well, I mean, as much as we talk about the three and we get enamored with the three, the game's going to be won or lost in the trenches. That's not just whether or not you're giving up layups. That's, are you allowing Capella to dominate the defensive board or the offensive board, excuse me, and the job that you're doing on the defensive glass. Like, we still have to do the job to win the paint. If you don't win the paint, you won't give yourself a chance to win this game.
JP, I know the other night I asked you about that first quarter, but like when you watch the film back, I guess early on some of those breakdowns, did you sense like any jitters maybe from some of these guys who have never played beyond a regular season before in their careers, and then maybe those got worked out later on?
Yeah, I wouldn't call them jitters. I think it was a matter of understanding what to expect. We were talking about it, the Brooklyn game, the first time we played them, that was 4-7-8, right? So that's another level. The last game we played them was basically a game 7, right? So those guys had been in that environment before. Our guys were still learning and understanding what that environment was like. So, there were some punches to the face that we took early. Then we got our feet wet, we figured it out, and then we were able to go out there and compete. Hopefully, and I believe it will, it translates because now we understand. And so tomorrow night, there's nothing left. It is that win or go home.
And then just with like the stakes and everything, since this is a younger group, like I think it's about this already, but like how even keel are they staying right now? Like not letting it get to them too much, but just mentality wise handling that.
They've been in a really good place. Practice was productive and loose. Film session was the same way. Guys were asking questions and really, really engaged and involved. Really prepared for the moment. There's a settling feeling that we have. Like, there is no anxiety or anxiousness with their group. Like, I feel like they're comfortable and ready to go.
A lot of people use you guys as kind of a surprise. Not satisfied yet. I get the sense that the guys aren't satisfied. This is not your year. You want to keep playing, right?
Yeah, we're not done yet by any means. We've had some small successes, but at the end of the day, we haven't accomplished anything near what we want to accomplish. So, it's our job to continue to push, continue to press, until they won't let us anymore. And tomorrow's another opportunity for us to keep pushing and keep trying to get done what we want to get done.
So win or go home game. Change style wise, do you do anything different?
No, I mean, it's always, rotations can be tighter. The amount of guys you play, their stretches, those types of things. Guys can run longer stretches, play more minutes, but style, temperament, all those things, they remain the same.
And just what do you anticipate the environment being like?
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be crazy. Like, we have a clear home court advantage with our fans. I'm expecting before tip off, everybody to be in their seats. I'm expecting it to be rowdy for 48 minutes. I'm expecting it to be the loudest arena that the Hawks have played in by far, and giving us that home court push and that home court edge.
Those final 3 quarters of Brooklyn, did you guys figure something out there? And how can you bring that, set aside that first quarter, but how can you bring the way you play?
Well, those are the learning lessons, and that's our expectation. Like, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but from day one, we knew we had a lot of learning to do, because as a group and a lot of our young individuals hadn't experienced a lot of these different things. So that's no different. So we've been tested, and I feel like our guys have done a really good job of responding. And, when they've been in a certain situation, they don't make the same mistake twice. They come out and they learn from it and they improve on it the next time out. So that's our hope again tonight or tomorrow, excuse me.
About can't explain playoff basketball. You got to live it. Is it any of the guys, maybe to you or to Kevin or any of the assistant coaches, these young kids said, so that's what you were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, the conversations have been great. And, it's one of those things where, again, because of the second, third, and fourth quarter, they believe that they're capable of it. Had that game continued to be a rout, right, there would have been doubt going into tomorrow night. But because they were able to go out and win the final 3 quarters, they believe they can, and that's the most important thing.
Fernando Brito, Cal Spanish Radio. Coach,
You comfortable?
you mentioned before about just paying attention. You mentioned before about going back to who we are and not going out of our mold. Is it easier now that the season is over to talk to these guys about the 5 core values that you set up for the team at the beginning? And is there one that is more important, or is just about making them all one tomorrow for that one game we need to win?
It is, because we've experienced ups and downs. We've been through a lot, to be honest with you, as a group. But the thing that is where it makes our jobs easier is because of those 5 things. Like, there's a consistency in our approach. And no matter the ups and downs, we're not searching to be one way one day, or if one guy's injured, we don't have to change up who we are. Because of those core values, we can be the same every single day. What I would say, and I would not pick one over the other, but what I think this group has exemplified more than anything is together. We have created something truly unique. This group, the way they, support one another, the way they, care for one another, the way they don't want to let each other down, that's unique, and it's special to be a part of.
Can we give the one more to the fans tomorrow, just to bring it in for one more home game for this season?
Damn right.
Get to the playoffs.
You're damn right.
Tom.
Hey, JB, sorry, man. It's difficult to hear some of the question. Did you rule Jared out for tomorrow?
We have not ruled anybody out.
Okay, very good.
We haven't ruled him in either.
Hey, long rebounds were a problem in the first half on whatever day that was. I'm sorry. Was that an effort thing? Were those just bad bounces? What was the problem there?
I mean, the long shots end up being long rebounds, but it's just a point of emphasis for us. It's typical. You want to depend on your big guys to get all the rebounds, right? We have to do a better job from our perimeter positions of tracking those balls down. Understanding how precious possessions are in these moments. Like, you have to lay everything out to come up with those possessions and not allow your opponent to get extra opportunities.
And one other little technical thing, they set high ball screens just like Brooklyn does with Trey when he comes down. And I know you guys struggled with that in the fourth quarter the other night, where they got some dunks, some lobs at the rim. Were the rotations slow at the bottom, or were you guys coming up too high? Is that an easy adjustment, JB? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we were coming up too high.
Okay.
Again, they put you in a bind when you end up with 2 on the ball anyway. And now they're playing broken floor basketball, advantage basketball. But we were stepping up too high and allowed them to get those lobs and those dump offs that were too easy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Marla.
Marla Ridenour, Akron Beacon Journal. Yeah, JB, you talked about the Hawks personnel, but have you identified one reason you guys were 1-3 against them? Like one area that was consistently needed to be fixed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it had a lot to do with our pick and roll defense. I think we allowed, Trae Young to get loose and do everything. We allowed him to score. We allowed him to assist. We allowed their other guys to get opportunities. So I think we just had a lot of breakdowns defensively that we can improve on.
You didn't use Moses Brown the other night. Would that be a consideration in this one?
It all depends. Again, we're confident with our big guys that we have available, and it just comes down to the time and place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christoph.
Hello, Coach. Christoph says in Greece. Hope you're doing well. Coach, your team is one game away, 1 game far from the playoffs. 48 minutes, actually. What does it mean? How could you describe the mindset of your team going into that game against the Hawks?
I think our guys are determined. I think, obviously they want our season to continue, and they're willing to do, whatever it takes to make that happen. And, they don't want to let each other down. So there's not one guy that's stepping outside of the box. They're all in, all together. They're ready to go get after it.
And also for you, how important, especially at this point, to having Kevin Love, Rajon Rondo players who are winners in this league, how important is for sharing their winning mindset to the whole team?
It's extremely important. Again, you can tell somebody so much before they have to experience it themselves. But, as they talk and as they're able to get on the floor and contribute, like they can help pull us through difficult times. You can put the ball in their hands and they can go out and make decisions and make the right play in pressure-filled moments to take some of that pressure off the other guys.
Thank you very much, Coach.
Thank you.
Talk about the conversations that you guys are having with the guys as these moments present themselves and your expectations for tomorrow's game. But throughout the season, I'm just curious how those conversations have evolved as the moments have gotten bigger and how you've had different games where the atmosphere is crazy and they feed off of that. But those conversations of the progression to this moment, how has that evolved for you?
I think you start at that base, right? And I think what we try to do as coaches and our staff is we focus a ton on relationships so that the conversations as they shift throughout the year, they're genuine conversations. And the guys trust you enough and are open with you enough to be honest. And when, if you don't have those relationships and that trust, when times are difficult, guys will just bottle that up and hold it inside. When guys have questions, if they're insecure in your relationship, they'll just hold on to those questions. So the more and more we've built those relationships, the conversations can be more in depth and honest. When a guy has a question about a coverage or, an insecurity about a moment, like they're okay having those conversations with us so we can address it and we can help them get through it.
What more do you need from Karis going into tomorrow's game?
We need him to be aggressive. Obviously, we value his ability to create shots and to make shots, but that's not the end all be all. He is a really good passer. He knows how to draw crowds and make plays. I think he's done a really good job defensively for us, but, we need all of him. We need him on both sides of the ball to take some of the burden off of, what Darius has to do and what the other guys need. But we need him to be his best.
And then down the stretch against Brooklyn, you leaned heavily on Rajon and Darius together. Did you get out of that what you wanted, and what benefit did that give you guys offensively?
Yeah, I think we did. Again, you want Doe on the floor for his experience, his intelligence on both sides of the ball. But what it also does is it puts Darius in a position where people have to chase him. Every time he brings the ball up the floor, there's not 10 eyes on him, right? So now once he gets below the basket, you can run him off the baseline. People have to shift, their vision and try to follow him. And then that creates not only for him, because people will overreact, but now he can make plays for big guys as well.
Anything else in the gym? Anything else on Zoom? All right, thanks, JB.
All right, appreciate you guys.
All right.